From taking her jealousy too far,
Do whatever it takes.
to almost killing her brother,
Oh my god.
here are 10 moments Lisa acted dumb. Starting off with Lisa the Vegetarian, which opens up with Grandpa and the Simpson family deciding to take a trip to Storytown Village, which is about as exciting as a wet piece of toast for anyone older than 7. Marge had promised it would be a blast for everyone, including Lisa, who is 8 years old. They make the best of it by wandering into the petting zoo, where they get lost in a sea of fluffy lambs so cute they almost make you forget you're in the most boring amusement park on Earth.
Oh, you are so cute!
After returning home, Homer discovers that Ned Flanders is throwing a massive family reunion. In true Homer fashion, he immediately decides to throw his own barbecue, mostly so he can invite everyone except Flanders, even though he screws up and ends up inviting him. Nicely done, Homer. That night, Homer excitedly announces the barbecue to his family. Marge thinks it's a great idea to meet the neighbors outside of court. Dinner that night is lamb chops, but Lisa is still haunted by the adorable bleeding lambs from the pet zoo, and can't bring herself to eat. She pushes her plate away, refusing the lamb, the roast, and even the hot dogs, realizing all these foods used to be living animals. Right then and there, Lisa declares herself a vegetarian, much to Homer's complete bewilderment. Not eating meat? That just doesn't compute. The next day at school, Lisa's newfound vegetarianism hits a snag when she's supposed to dissect a worm, but the worm, in her mind, starts pleading.
Lisa, what did I ever do to you?
Lisa refuses to dissect the worm, which promptly triggers the school's independent thought alarm. At lunch, she finds that the only vegetarian option is a lonely hot dog bun, which lunch lady Doris describes as,
"It's rich in bunly goodness."
Lisa's sassy remark about Doris's enthusiasm for her job earns her another trip to the principal's office. Homer and Bart can't stop mocking Lisa's new diet.
You don't win friends with salad. You don't win friends with salad.
Later, Skinner shows Lisa's class a hilariously outdated Troy McClure film about how cows would eat humans if given the chance. While the other kids are fine with this meat-eater propaganda, Lisa tries to speak up, but gets called a
Grade A moron!
Even Ralph chimes in, saying he wants to go to Bovine University. Finally, the day of Homer's barbecue arrives. Lisa's feeling a bit self-righteous about her vegetarianism, and brings a big bowl of gazpacho, only to be met with laughter. While everyone digs into burgers, Lisa sulks in her room, fuming over the partygoers' blatant disregard for her new lifestyle. When a stray burger lands on her face, she snaps. As the grand finale, Homer presents a roast pig, and this is where Lisa really screws up and, just like everyone else in her family, can be quite dumb at times. Before Homer can carve into the pig, Lisa, in a fit of fury, takes a riding mower and speeds away with the BBQ centerpiece.
Bart, no!
What?
Sorry, force of habit.
Homer and Bart give chase, but Lisa sends the pig flying off a slope. It rolls through bushes, splashes into a river, and is launched into a sky by a dam. Bye-bye, delicious piggy. Does she have to ruin it for everyone? Back home, Homer shouts at Lisa for ruining his barbecue, but Lisa, holding her ground, refuses to apologize for standing up for her beliefs. Their argument escalates, and Lisa storms out, fed up with being mocked for her choices. Walking through town, she's bombarded with meat-themed ads and classmates teasing. Feeling overwhelmed, Lisa impulsively grabs a hot dog at the Quickie Mart, shouting,
There! Is everybody happy now?
but surprise, Apu, the Quickie Mart owner and secret vegan, reveals it's a tofu dog. He takes Lisa to a secret rooftop garden where she meets Paul and Linda McCartney, fellow vegetarians who offer words of wisdom about respecting others' choices while staying true to your own. Inspired, Lisa heads home to make amends with Homer. After a bit of stubbornness, Homer admits he was worried about her. Lisa apologizes for ruining his barbecue, but makes it clear she's sticking with her vegetarianism. Homer, finally understanding, forgives her and offers her a
I'll give you a piggyback ride. A veggie back ride home.
Sure, we can all have our own opinions, but Lisa definitely went too far here, and in this next episode, she went even further. Lisa is usually smart, but in this episode, her dumb escapades got her brother hurt pretty bad. My Sister, My Sitter begins with Homer and Marge glued to the TV, catching some breaking news. Springfield's ever-popular Squidport is making a grand reopening. It doesn't take them long to decide that this is the perfect excuse for a date night. Lisa and her friend Janie are buried in a stack of the Babysitter's Club books, dreaming of entrepreneurial glory. Inspired by these stories, Lisa decides to kickstart her own babysitting empire and even goes so far as to place an ad in the church bulletin. However, the phone stays silent, and Lisa starts to think she's got a babysitting curse. Marge gives her a reality check, explaining that people usually hire teenagers for babysitting because they've, done it before. Lisa, ever the overachiever, insists she's more than ready for the job. Aren't you only 8 yourself, Lisa? Right on cue, Ned Flanders shows up, all flustered. Maud and her mother have been hit with some sticky situation that requires an emergency trip to Capital City. Ned sheepishly asks Homer to keep an eye on his boys. Lisa sees her big break and volunteers her services. Ned's hesitant but decides to give Lisa a shot. She nails it, and soon enough, Ned is singing her praises all over town. Suddenly, Lisa's got babysitting gigs lined up like a Hollywood star on a press tour. Even Ralph and Dr. Hibbert's kids are in on the action. Homer and Marge decide it's safe to leave Bart and Maggie with Lisa while they hit up Squidport. Bart's not thrilled about this plan. Nope, not one bit. He's convinced he's far too wild to be tamed by Lisa, and sets out on a mission to prove it. His rebellion begins with dinner, first refusing to eat and then reverting to baby mode, making a mess and causing Maggie to cry. Not one to be outdone, Bart feeds Maggie a scoop of caffeinated ice cream, turning her into a tiny hyperactive whirlwind. With Maggie bouncing off the walls, Lisa's patience is wearing thin. But wouldn't yours as well? Bart's just warming up. He starts placing ridiculous phone orders. A massive sandwich, a visit from Krusty, and even reports of a UFO. Every few minutes, Lisa's answering the door to another crazy delivery. Lisa's just about had it. She clarifies in no uncertain terms that Bart head upstairs for bed. Just when Lisa thinks the nightmare might be over, she catches Bart jumping on their parents' bed. His excuse?
You didn't say which bed.
Lisa snaps. In the ensuing chase, Bart tumbles down the stairs, bumping his head and dislocating his arm. Even with these injuries, Bart's determined to make Lisa's life miserable. He locks himself in his room and threatens to show off his injuries to their parents, so Lisa will never babysit again. Then, for dramatic effect, he bangs his head against the door to make the lump bigger. Classic Bart move. Well, until he knocks himself out cold. Panicking, Lisa tries to call Dr. Hibbert, but the 911 operators think it's another Bart prank. Desperate to save her babysitting career, Lisa decides to get Bart to the hospital herself. She sneaks into his room via a tree, plops Bart into a wheelbarrow, and, to keep Maggie under control, locks her in a pet cage. Hey, desperate times, right? Lisa's journey to the hospital becomes a slapstick odyssey. When she's turned away from the emergency clinic, she decides to hoof it to the hospital. They narrowly dodge Chief Wiggum, but Bart rolls out of the wheelbarrow and down a muddy hill. Lisa and Maggie follow, only to land in a muddy heap. A spotlight shines on them because Lisa has inadvertently crashed the Squidport reopening, with Homer, Marge, and the whole town watching. Can we all agree that she could not have handled this situation worse? The crowd panics, thinking Bart's dead, Lisa's on drugs, and Maggie's about to be thrown into the river. Luckily, Dr. Hibbert steps in, stopping the chaos, but not before declaring Lisa a
Bad babysitting.
The 8-year-old is cancelled. The next day, Bart's patched up and feeling a bit guilty. He apologizes to Lisa for being a complete jerk and wrecking her babysitting business. To her surprise, she soon gets calls from Dr. Hibbert and Ned Flanders, still eager to hire her despite the chaos. Lisa can't help but smile. Looks like her babysitting career isn't over just yet. I think this whole episode proves you shouldn't trust an 8-year-old. In the episode Money Bart, Lisa acts impulsively and honestly a bit dumb in one of her most disappointing moments. When Springfield Elementary's own alum-turned-Ivy Leaguer Dahlia Brinkley returns for a visit, Lisa's perfectly organized life gets a serious reality check. Dahlia seems to have every club and activity under the sun listed on her resume, which makes Lisa question her own go-getter mindset. Because really, who can say no to a resume booster, right? Inspired by Dahlia, Lisa decides there's no such thing as too many extracurriculars and jumps headfirst into coaching Bart's Little League baseball team, even though her knowledge of baseball is about as deep as a kiddie pool. Armed with her trusty book smarts, Lisa applies her skills in statistics and probability to the team, and wouldn't you know it, they start winning like crazy. However, when Bart starts feeling more like a pawn in a math equation than a kid playing baseball, he calls Lisa out for sucking the fun out of the game. Lisa sticks to her principles and stupidly benches Bart from the big championship game.
You're off the team. Get him out of here.
Naturally, everyone's annoyed, thinking Lisa's gone a bit too far with her no-fun approach. Trying to cheer Bart up, Marge whisks him away to an amusement park, where they bump into MLB manager and former catcher Mike Soja. Mike gives Bart some solid advice about the true spirit of the game, reigniting Bart's genuine love for baseball. Lisa, faced with a last-minute chance to win the championship, has a light bulb moment. She makes a surprising decision that proves there's more to sports than just winning.
Now get out there and kick a field goal.
Lisa and Bart patch things up, with their team somehow clutching the victory. Does Lisa always have to ruin it for Bart? The next one gets worse when Lisa acts like a dummy and nearly costs Bart his life. again, in Flanders' Ladder. At the start of the episode, Bart hooks Lisa with tales of the hardest test in the world, but it turns out to be just another classic prank. Moments later, Lisa ends up tangled in Bart's underwear, and before she can recover, he's already posted the embarrassing photos on Instagram for the world to see. Lisa plots her revenge. Nice one, Lisa. Chaos strikes the Simpson household when the internet goes down. Desperate, Homer dusts off the ancient VCR, and he and Marge take a nostalgic trip down memory lane, reminiscing about the good old days of classic TV, including The Tracy Ullman Show, which, unsurprisingly, Homer had taped. Is this the multiverse? The VCR finally gives up the ghost, and the family notices that Ned Flanders still has internet. Naturally, Homer and Bart decide that the most logical solution is to swipe Flanders' router. Bart goes in for the heist, but gets struck by lightning. Who saw that coming? Because I didn't. At the hospital, the family discovers that Bart is in a coma. Marge and Homer leave the room, leaving Lisa alone with him. At first, she feels awful about what happened, but she quickly realizes this is her golden opportunity to get back at Bart. And this is when Lisa makes one of the dumbest, and honestly, cruelest decisions ever.
You're gonna see the one thing everyone's afraid of. Death and dead people. That's right, buddy.
I mean, why would you say that? In Bart's comatose dreamland, things seem normal until he's visited by none other than the ghost of Maude Flanders. Back in reality, Marge and Homer pop in, offering Lisa a snack break. Lisa declines and vows to keep vigil by Bart's side all night. Upon seeing Bart's humiliating photo of her racking up millions of likes, Lisa decides to add a little something to his dream. Milhouse Van Houten. Inside Bart's coma, things get weirder. He finds himself setting up crosses in his treehouse, where Milhouse pops in, asking if Bart suddenly found Jesus. Maude appears, and says that the treehouse looks like the first apartment she and Ned lived in, and that crosses don't actually scare off ghosts. Bart shoos her away with a pair of Homer's socks, and Milhouse suggests visiting Dr. Samuel Elkins. At the doctor's office, Bart discovers Dr. Elkins' dead body behind the couch. The doctor casually explains that he took his own life with rat poison just minutes before Bart arrived. Bart then realizes he can now see the dead, spotting ghostly figures like the past Snowball Cats, Hyman Kristofsky, Bleeding Gums Murphy, and of course, Maude. Dr. Elkins makes one last request for Bart, to avenge him against Dr. Morton, leaving Bart to confront a variety of ghosts in Morton's office. That actually sounds terrifying. While Bart is busy becoming a ghost whisperer, Dr. Hibbert warns Lisa that messing with someone's brain while they're in a coma could be really bad news. Or worse, lethal. She's suddenly full of regret now that she's put her brother's life at risk, and considers the consequences of her actions. A bit late now, Lisa. Back in Bart's dream, Maude insists Bart avenge her death, which was indirectly caused by Homer. Bart obliges, and Homer finds himself under assault by t-shirt cannons, shot by Jimbo, Dolph, and Kearney. Maude is grateful for Bart's help in exacting her revenge. As Bart feels proud for helping the spirits, Homer's ghost reminds him that there's still one ghost left to help. His own. Bart considers keeping Homer's ghost with him in the coma, but a heavenly light appears, which is a signal that it's time for Homer to go. Just then, Lisa reaches out from the real world, urging Bart to stay with the living. Bart pleads with Homer and points out that Marge might remarry. Someone else would raise the kids, and worse, someone else would be riding Homer's lawnmower. Homer seems oddly okay with it all, until Bart fires a t-shirt cannon at the heavenly light, almost causing his own death in the process. The family celebrates the miraculous recovery, and Bart concludes that everyone's got a future ahead of them, no matter how bizarre things have been. Lisa went way too far in this episode, but is it as far as this next one, when Lisa gets jealous and just has to be better than everyone else? Lisa Simpson thought she was the brightest star in the Springfield Elementary galaxy, until a new planet named Allison Taylor swung into orbit in the episode Lisa's Rival. With new Springfield student Allison showing up, Lisa suddenly found herself with some stiff competition. Allison wasn't just smart, she was practically a mini Einstein who'd skipped a grade. Oh, and how about the fact that she also played the saxophone, making her the one person in Springfield who could give Lisa a run for her money in a jazz-off. Allison was out Lisaing Lisa.
Yowee.
I never made Miss Hoover yowie.
Despite feeling the green monster of envy nibbling at her heels, Lisa tried to befriend Allison.
With so much in common, I'm sure we'll be the best of friends.
But let's be real, this is Lisa Simpson we're talking about. Jealousy and the desire to outshine Allison simmered beneath the surface. Things really came to a head during Springfield Elementary's annual Diorama Rama, a fierce competition where students build dioramas to flex their creative muscles. Allison was an overachiever just like Lisa and decided to do a diorama of The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. Lisa is never one to back down from a challenge, so she put together a scene from Oliver Twist in an attempt to outdo Allison. Lisa also decided to go the extra mile and added some dramatic flair with an electric fan and fake snow to create a bitter snowstorm. Unfortunately, her dramatic flair turned into dramatic failure when the fan sent her diorama flying, destroying it completely. Talk about a snow job. Convinced she couldn't beat Allison fair and square after this catastrophe, Lisa's ever-so-helpful brother Bart stepped in with a plan that, shockingly, didn't involve fireworks or prank calls. He concocted a scheme to sabotage Allison's diorama, because what are siblings for if not to escalate academic rivalries to sabotage level?
I'll do whatever it takes.
On the day of the contest, Bart distracted the other students with his antics, giving Lisa the chance to switch Allison's diorama with one containing a cow's heart. Lisa is usually whip-smart and able to make the right choices, but her jealousy was just too much and she couldn't resist the urge to overtake Allison, so she went along with Bart's plan. What a stupid idea, Lisa. Principal Skinner stumbled upon the cow's heart and immediately decided to humiliate Allison in front of the entire school. Despite Allison's protests that her diorama didn't feature an actual organ from a farm animal, Skinner dismissed her claims, saying that cow hearts belong in the science lab, not art projects. He even questioned whether letting Allison skip a grade had been a good idea and reduced her to tears.
Young lady, cow hearts belong in a butcher's window, not the classroom.
That did seem a bit much from a principal. As Principal Skinner and Miss Hoover chatted away, Lisa started hearing a heartbeat growing louder and louder, like a telltale heart thumping in her conscience. The sound was too much, and her guilt finally got the better of her. With a dramatic flourish, she produced Allison's real diorama, revealing the truth. But in a twist no one saw coming, neither Lisa nor Allison won. The grand prize went to Ralph Wiggum, who entered a box of Star Wars action figures still in their original packaging, an entry that tugged at Principal Skinner's sentimental heartstrings. It turns out that nostalgia trumps talent every time. So Lisa made a bad decision and essentially sold her soul. For what? She didn't even win. In the next episode, Lisa's stupid choice ends up snuffing out the potential for Bart to actually do the right thing. He was so close, Lisa. At the start of Bart vs. Itchy and Scratchy from season 30, Krusty the Clown steps up to the mic to announce that everyone's favorite cat and mouse are changing.
It's an all-female reboot of Itchy and Scratchy!
Lisa practically jumps out of her seat with joy. Finally, some representation in cartoons. But across the room, Bart's face twists in horror. He's got a plan, and it's as dramatic as his prepubescent soul can muster.
Everybody come over to my house and we'll turn off the TV the second that girl cartoon comes on. We'll hate not watch it.
They're all on board, each one more determined than the last to boycott this affront to their beloved Itchy and Scratchy. Lisa, of course, rolls her eyes at her brother and his friends. Fast forward to the night of the big premiere. Bart throws a block party at the Simpson household. The TV is off, blindfolds are on, and the boys are doing everything they can to not even accidentally see a glimpse of the new show. Upstairs is a different story. Lisa is happily glued to her TV and live streaming her reaction on YouTube. No matter what he says, Bart is curious and sneaks upstairs to peek into Lisa's room. After just one gag on the show and he's hooked. He lets out a snort, then a chuckle, and soon he's laughing harder than Lisa. She catches him mid-laugh and grins. So he does like the new Itchy and Scratchy. Lisa's live stream has captured the whole event, and within hours, Bart's reaction is plastered all over the internet. The next morning, the whole town's laughing at Bart's very public hypocrisy. The next day at school is a nightmare for Bart. Milhouse, Nelson, Ralph, and the rest of the gang have seen the video, and they're out for blood. They chase Bart through the halls, wielding Ralph like a medieval flail, ready to deliver some playground justice. Bart darts into the girls' bathroom. It's his only refuge because he knows his friends wouldn't dare enter without facing the mysterious forces of femininity that lie within. Inside the bathroom, he encounters 3 radical feminist girls. They introduce themselves as members of Bossy Riot, a feminist crime group on a mission to fight misogyny, one prank at a time. Bart is impressed by their guts and pranks, and asks to join their cause. Initially, the girls are skeptical. After all, Bart's a boy. But he proves his worth by stealing Principal Skinner's phone, and they decide to give him a shot. Equality, right? Milhouse and the boys are not about to let this go. They form their own group, the Boys' Right Association, and are determined to counter Bossy Riot's antics. In a hilariously misguided attempt at activism, they even recruit Ralph, Lewis, Wendell, Hubert, and Database to their cause. Bossy Riot, now with Bart in tow, goes on a spree of pranks and protests around Springfield. Their stunts make the news, and Kent Brockman's dramatic dramatic reporting only adds fuel to the fire. Lisa notices something off about Bart and confronts him. When she figures out he's joined Bossy Riot, her world is rocked. This is where Lisa acts really dumb and out of character. She believes in the feminist cause, but her ego is too much, and it prevents her from supporting her brother and his new desire to help. She berates him, belittles him, and just basically doesn't believe in him.
You can't be an activist for women's rights. You don't know anything about the feminist cause.
If she really wanted Bart to do good, she would have just rooted for him and encouraged him. Instead, she stupidly shot him down and made him feel bad. Things quickly take a turn when the boys' rights group decides to burn new Itchy and Scratchy toys in protest. The girls of Bossy Riot, not to be outdone, plan to burn all the masters of Itchy and Scratchy. Bart is horrified and tries to stop them, but ends up tied to a mannequin. Lisa swoops in for the save, and they rush to Krusty Lou Studios to stop the madness. They arrive just in time to save most of the Itchy and Scratchy tapes, though a few are lost to the flames. Lisa's quick thinking, with some nail polish remover fumes, manages to fend off the boys, who promptly turn on Milhouse for his leadership failure. Outside the studio, the girls of Bossy Riot reveal they never considered Bart a real member. He was just there to provide some fingerprints and DNA in case things went south. They offer Lisa a spot in their group and ride off on their bikes, leaving Bart behind. But Bart, ever resilient, grabs a can of paint and scrawls "The patriarchy is a wiener" on the wall, a small act of rebellion that earns him a begrudging welcome back into his old gang of boys. As the credits roll, Bart and the boys regroup, pondering their brief foray into activism. Bart shares his experience, leaving them all a little more confused but somewhat enlightened about the opposite sex. If she really wanted to do good in the world, why not leave Bart to it? We have seen Lisa act dumb before, but we have rarely seen her turn into the menace she is in separate vocations. After taking a career aptitude test, Lisa is shocked to discover her ideal job is homemaker, while Bart is pegged to become a policeman. I know, pretty silly, right? Bart is a policeman? Naturally, Lisa is downright devastated. At dinner, she vents her frustration about her apparent future in the kitchen. Marge tries to reassure her, saying,
Lisa, it's not that bad.
But Lisa rightfully isn't ready to give up on her dreams. She declares her ambition to become a jazz musician and imagines herself playing the saxophone in smoky clubs while earning countless accolades.
Well, I'm gonna be a famous jazz musician.
To prove the test wrong, she decides to consult the music teacher and passionately plays her saxophone. The teacher, clearly impressed but stuck between a rock and Lisa's stubby fingers, breaks the news that her hands aren't exactly made for professional sax playing. Must have taken after Homer. Heartbroken and determined not to give up, Lisa now finds herself sentenced by the test to a day of chores with Marge, while Bart gets to ride shotgun with the local cops. Lisa, realizing her dreams might be just as dead as yesterday's casserole, loses her spark. Schools and sax take a back seat as she spirals into a world of rebellion and eye-rolling teenage angst. The next morning, Lisa trudges downstairs with a mood blacker than burnt toast. Marge tries to brighten her up, suggesting that homemaking isn't so bad and you can be creative, kinda like making smiley face breakfasts. Lisa isn't amused and points out that no one even notices.
What's the point? They'll never notice.
Right on cue, Homer and Bart tear into their breakfasts without so much as a thank you, which leaves Marge deflated and proves Lisa's point about the family's lack of appreciation. Over at school, Principal Skinner is thrilled with Bart's law-abiding turn and appoints him a hall monitor. Bart dives into his new role with gusto, issuing demerits like parking tickets and restoring a strict order to the halls. Lisa finds herself hanging out with the bad girls in the dreaded 5th grade bathroom, and this is where Lisa goes from future class president to true buffoon. Lisa really screws up when she proposes they vandalize Skinner's beloved Puma statue.
But if you really want to honk Skinner off, I suggest you attack the one thing he truly believes in.
The girls are impressed, recognizing Lisa's deep knowledge of Skinner's weak spots, and promptly trash the statue, leaving Skinner crushed and Lisa sinking further into her rebel phase. Lisa's downward spiral continues, and soon she's mouthing off to teachers and skipping homework. At one point, she steals the teachers' editions of their textbooks, plunging the entire school into chaos. While teachers panic and flee, Bart teams up with Skinner to hunt down the culprit. When they discover the books in Lisa's locker, Bart is surprised, but understands. Lisa confesses she's acting out because she's frustrated over her so-called destiny as a homemaker, far from her dreams of saxophone stardom.
looking at expulsion for this.
Just as Lisa is about to face the music, Bart steps up and takes the blame, and sacrifices himself to save his sister's future. Before he's hauled off by Hall Monitor Milhouse, Lisa asks why he's doing this. Bart shrugs and tells her she's got talent and brains unlike him, and she shouldn't throw it all away. Lisa is touched, and returns to her saxophone and her studies, while Bart settles back into his familiar spot in detention. As he scratches away on the chalkboard, Lisa plays her sax outside, her notes carrying a promise that maybe, just maybe, she'll make it to the big stage after all. The ending of this episode is really sweet, but can we all agree that Lisa was just acting dumb here? But is it as dumb as when Lisa makes the silly, stupid, but relatable decision to give in to some low self-esteem and try to change who she is in order to make friends in summer of 4'2"? It's the end of another school year at Springfield Elementary, and the excitement is palpable as Lisa and the yearbook club finally unveil the long-awaited yearbooks. Proud of their hard work, the club members are eager to see everyone's reactions.
The reward for a year's worth of toil and sacrifice.
And boy, do they get a reaction. The moment the yearbooks are handed out, chaos erupts. Students go wild, tearing through pages, and before long, the room looks like a paper tornado has swept through. But in the midst of the mayhem, Lisa's joy fades. Despite her stellar academic record and numerous accolades proudly displayed in the yearbook, she quickly realizes something troubling. Nobody wants to sign hers. Ouch. Bart is having the time of his life. He's set up a yearbook signing booth. Yes, a booth, where everyone, including Principal Skinner, lines up to pay for a custom Bart Simpson autograph. It's a genius hustle. Who needs meaningful messages when you can monetize popularity, right?
Hi, Becky. Thanks for coming out.
Later that day, Homer cuts a deal with Ned Flanders to watch over his beach house while Ned serves jury duty. Naturally, this sounds like the perfect summer getaway for the Simpson clan. As they prepare to head to the beach house, Marge suggests that Bart invite Milhouse, and Lisa bring a friend along. Marge checks in on Lisa to see which of her friends will be joining them, but Lisa, sitting amidst a pile of books more advanced than most adults read, sighs. Her friends? Yeah, they're all bound in hardcover. When Lisa asks why she has no friends, Marge tries to reassure her with the classic advice,
So all you have to do is be yourself.
Lisa's response? A groan that could probably be heard across Springfield. She's convinced that being herself is terrible advice and decides that a summer makeover is in order. Out go the swim cap, nose plug, and microscope. It's time for a new Lisa.
Bye-bye, Lisa Simpson.
The next day, the Simpsons plus Milhouse hit the road for the beach. When they arrive at Flanders' meticulously organized beach house, Marge spots a note from Ned saying he's left a few helpful instructions around the place. Upon entering, they find the house covered in sticky notes. Only Ned could turn a house into a post-it war zone. Soon after, Lisa reveals her plan to reinvent herself by forgetting to pack any of her usual dorky gear, including her swimsuit. Marge, Lisa, and Maggie head to the store to grab some new clothes. Unfortunately, most of Marge's picks scream little girl, which Lisa is desperately trying to avoid. After a quick fashion rebellion, Lisa emerges with a fresh, cool look and heads out to the beach to see what the day has in store. While exploring, Lisa stumbles upon a group of skateboarding kids named Aaron, Dean, Rick, and Ben. Seizing the opportunity, she decides to give skateboarding a whirl. It's a bumpy start, but she quickly impresses the group with her willingness to try new things. This is where Lisa makes her biggest and dumbest mistake. Instead of just being who she is, she decides to take on a brand new persona. She's so sure that her nerdiness will scare people away, she doesn't even try to be genuine. And we all know that it'll end poorly and are shaking our heads as Lisa forges this brand new version of herself. Bart tries to wedge his way into the group by flaunting his slingshot skills. Unfortunately for Bart, the skate kids aren't impressed.
Who does he think he is with that slingshot in his back pocket? Dennis the Menace?
Aaron snarks, and Bart stalks off, cursing Milhouse for ruining his beach cred. That evening, as Bart and Milhouse play a board game with Homer and Marge, Lisa heads back to the beach for a sunset walk with her new friends. She shares her vast knowledge and love of nature, surprising them all with just how much fun learning can be. Back at the beach house, Lisa and her friends brainstorm plans for the 4th of July. Lisa suggests a beach party, and the idea takes off, with everyone pitching in their own ideas. Bart is still sulking over his rejection and complains to Milhouse that this is the worst 4th of July ever. He decides to crash Lisa's beach gathering, but Marge steps in.
Park your keister, meester.
Bart protests, claiming those were supposed to be his friends, and accuses Lisa of stealing them by copying his style. Marge doesn't buy it. Frustrated and jealous, Bart hatches a plan to expose Lisa's nerdiness to her new friends. Lisa is riding high on the thrill of newfound friendship, Erin even gives her a friendship bracelet, and Lisa, in return, offers a seashell necklace. But just as she's starting to believe she's finally shed her nerdy image, Bart appears with her yearbook. The skate kids are taken aback by the revelation that their cool new friend is actually a bit of a nerd. Lisa runs away in tears, convinced that her new friends won't want anything to do with her anymore. The next morning, a furious Lisa confronts Bart for humiliating her. He tries to defend himself by insisting she just needs to be herself, but Lisa isn't buying it. As the day unfolds, the Simpson family heads to a local carnival. Despite the festivities, the tension between Bart and Lisa is palpable. After a particularly heated exchange, Lisa storms off, convinced that her brother will never let her escape her reputation as a nerd. While wandering back to the beach house, Lisa resigns herself to the idea that she's just not meant to have friends. Being herself didn't work, and pretending to be someone else didn't either. But when she arrives, she finds Erin, Dean, Rick, and Ben gathered around the family car, decorating it with farewell messages. Confused, Lisa assumes it's some sort of cruel joke, but the skate kids quickly assure her it's not. They actually like Lisa just the way she is, nerdiness and all. As Lisa smiles at this unexpected but welcome revelation, Bart sheepishly hands her the yearbook back. He admits that they showed it to her new friends before they left and asks them to sign it. Lisa, touched by this gesture, thanks her brother as the Simpson family, plus Milhouse, piles into the car to head back home. This one is a bit of a stretch, but does Lisa taking the family to a temple result in the Simpsons losing millions of dollars? Yes. I guess we're just trying to blame things on Lisa now. When the skies open up and rain starts pouring, the Simpsons huddle inside and turn to their favorite indoor pastime, board games. It's all fun and games until Lisa wipes the floor with Homer at every single game. Monopoly? Bankrupted. Scrabble? He didn't stand a chance. Again and again, Homer is left staring blankly at the board, wondering if he's been playing chess all along. The rest of the family looks around confused why everyone is getting along.
There's no Bart!
Homer, in his usual laid-back manner, reveals that after Bart pulled a prank involving a soda machine that got the entire family banned from an all-you-can-eat buffet, he decided to keep Bart out of trouble by getting him a computer. His logic?
I addicted him to something that will numb his spirit until he's no longer our responsibility.
Makes perfect sense, right? Soon enough, Bart and his buddies are deep into a game called Conflict of Enemies, and Homer takes notice. Bart tells him about a big tournament where they could actually win some serious cash. And by serious, we mean more than just a couple of Krusty Burgers. There's actual prize money on the line. Now Homer's ears perk up at the mention of money.
Childhood's over, it's time for work.
So he does what any loving, slightly misguided dad would do. He hires a professional gamer to coach Bart and his crew. However, the plan quickly goes south when the so-called pro messes up big time and decides he's not cut out for the job. After a few chats with other sports dads, he decides to step up and coach Bart's esports team himself. His approach? Intense training sessions that would make even the most hardcore military drill sergeant proud. Under Homer's bizarre but somehow effective coaching, Bart and his friends start winning tournaments left and right. Before they know it, they've made it all the way to the World Championships in South Korea. Things are looking up for Team Bart. Lisa makes the rather silly choice of convincing the rest of her family to check out a local temple where they learn about the art of making salt mandalas. Homer quickly gets swept up in the beauty of it all until he learns that the mandalas are intentionally destroyed after completion. This revelation hits Homer like a Duff beer truck. He suddenly has a Zen-like epiphany about the futility of material possessions.
I am going to stop being so driven and ambitious. Don't you laugh, Missy!
In a twist that shocks absolutely no one, Homer's newfound philosophy leads him to make a wildly impulsive decision. He cuts the power to Bart's gaming setup right in the middle of the championship match. The $2 million prize goes poof, and with it, any chance of Bart's team winning the tournament. Why oh why did Lisa decide to make her family visit that monastery? Because of that, Bart lost his chance of winning millions of dollars and skyrocketing The Simpsons into the next tax bracket. She definitely wasn't thinking ahead here. In this episode, Lisa discovers she may be doomed to be a dummy. The episode Lisa the Simpson starts with her finding herself in a bit of a bind. First, she flunks a brain teaser that even Martin, Milhouse, Bart, and, brace yourselves, Nelson can solve. Then she forgets her school locker code, botches an agriculture project by hastily crafting an
It's a pig!
and even loses her saxophone technique. Naturally, Lisa starts to panic. Is she losing her smarts?
Mom, I think something's wrong with me. I can't do anything right lately.
In a fit of anxiety, she spills her worries to Grandpa, who drops a bombshell. Every Simpson starts off smart, but gets dumber over time, thanks to the so-called Simpson genes. Apparently, this goes for everyone from Grandpa himself to Homer and even Bart.
This is crazy. crazy. Just because you and Dad and Bart went downhill doesn't mean it's gonna happen to me.
After a particularly wild nightmare where she's married to Ralph Wiggum and surrounded by unintelligent children, Lisa decides she can't just accept this newfound idiocy. Desperate for some answers, Lisa storms onto the TV show Smartline to plead with the people of Springfield to cherish their brains. Homer, realizing the mess Grandpa has caused, gathers all the Simpson relatives to prove that the family isn't just a pack of morons. However, his plan goes awry when all the men reveal their absurd jobs. Failing at a shrimp business, scaring birds at the airport, impersonating rich people at parties, jumping in front of cars to sue the drivers, begging celebrities for cash, being a prison snitch, and managing a jug band. Lisa's depression deepens, and even Homer starts to feel like maybe the Simpsons really are hopeless.
Lisa's right. We're nothing but a big bunch of losers.
Reluctantly, Homer turns to the women in the family, and that's when the plot twist hits. He meets a woman in a lab coat and reads her name tag, Dr. Simpson. Suddenly, Lisa's hope is reignited, and it gets better. The other women reveal they're an environmental lawyer, an architect, and even the lead sales coordinator at a bed company. Turns out all the women in the Simpson family are wildly successful. Dr. Simpson breaks it down. The defective gene that turned Simpsons into, well, dummies, is on the Y chromosome, so only the men in the family are affected. Lisa has been blessed with 2 X chromosomes, so she realizes that she's in the clear. She's gonna be just fine, thank you very much. Understandably, Bart isn't thrilled. He asks Homer if he's doomed to be a failure like the other men. Homer, ever the optimist, reassures him that he'll be
A spectacular failure.
In the end, Lisa writes in her journal about feeling unstoppable, and even manages to solve that pesky brain teaser she failed before. Overjoyed, she lets out a triumphant woohoo before quickly correcting herself. After all, she might be a Simpson, but she's a smart one. So Lisa really was dumb in this episode, at least temporarily, but the good news here is that she proved, in the end, she definitely has a bright future ahead of her, despite the dreaded Simpson gene. There you go. These were 10 episodes when Lisa wasn't the brightest bulb in the Simpson family. If you got this far, hit that like button and subscribe for more Simpson videos.